Okay, so you ready? So I was fortunate, as I said, to be invited to. There was a period where I was invited to Guru's house fairly regularly, and I actually had this thing. Sometimes I helped, since I have this background of horticulture and gardening and whatever. The disciples would often ask me to do things with their gardens, or especially disciples that just bought new houses or whatever. And so sometimes I would be coming back. I would go on a Saturday in the morning, and I'd be coming back in the evening. And it was really strange because I don't know how the timing works, but for some reason, literally within 5 minutes of me arriving home, my phone would ring, and again, because I talk so much about the Anand Brahma girls, but one of the Anand Brahma girls would say, Guru's inviting you to come over to the house. And of course, then I'd immediately run down, take a shower, put my whites on, and rush over to the house. And you never really knew what was going to happen. Sometimes it would be early evening, sometimes it would be late in the evening, which would be probably after a function. And Guru, especially like I remember like in January, Guru would often be watching the U.S. Open, not the U.S. Open, the Australian Open, tennis. So you'd get to sit there and watch Guru, playing, watching tennis, and then of course you'd have this thing, and but also we would especially locals, you'd get invited to when it was Ranjana's birthday. If everyone was in town, you'd get invited to the house for that, and then also Lavanya's birthday at that time. And it was really interesting because there'd be so many people that, Guru was sitting upstairs in the house, and the girls would always be upstairs, and then the boys would all be downstairs. And they would set up like CCTV things so you could see what was going upstairs. And sometimes it would get a little crazy. I won't name the disciple, but there was one New York disciple that would kind of like create chaos amongst the boys because we were having fun. And Guru actually, sometimes Guru would hear the noise, and then you'd suddenly a smile come on his face because he knew what was going on down there. And so, because maybe there was a break in whatever was actually going on in the function upstairs. But I remember that Guru talked about, Guru would often ask Lavanya, on her birthday, he would ask her, tell her to ask 3 questions. Ask me 3 questions that I've not asked before. And I remember on one occasion, she asked Guru about suffering. And so Guru then started to talk about, how we suffer, how people in the world suffer, but how disciples can suffer when they have problems. And so he talked about disciples having problems. And this might be controversial, I have to say, but he said that like with the girls, because he said actually we wear our problems right here on our forehead. He can see our problems. And he said with the girls, if he sees a girl has a problem and she's wearing this problem, he immediately has to take care of it. Immediately has to take care of it. Otherwise, they will become sad and depressed or whatever, or upset. But with the boys, he says sometimes the boys try to actually deal with their problem themselves. He said, but eventually, sometimes what will happen is there'll be 3 or 4 different problems that will build up, and he'd see them, and he'd see it's difficult for them because they have so many. Maybe they can work on one of them, but the other 2 or 3 or whatever are kind of still there. And so he said, so what I do on that occasion is, or in an instance, is I give them a little time. I give them a little vacation. And Guru had this really cheeky little smile. And of course, all the boys downstairs know exactly what Guru's talking about, because many of us at different times, for different things that we had done, had been given like maybe a week or 2 weeks or even a month of vacation, essentially. And what it was that you were relieved in a sense of your responsibilities in the center, and you could deal with these problems. And he knew, depending on how many there were, kind of what time span was needed. And then once that was done, then you could go back to your center activities and stuff. So that was kind of like, a very kind of interesting insight into in the way that Guru sees the problems that disciples have and how we can deal with them. But there was also this funny thing that I remember on one occasion, as I said, I was in the New Jersey Center, and we used to have New Jersey Center meetings on Tuesdays, and there was circus practice on Tuesdays. So, and there was usually, there was like a 10-minute cutoff. If you came more than 10 minutes late for your center meeting, you weren't allowed to come in, and you were supposed to go home, and then your name would be given to Guru, and actually to a Shrita and to the Guru, and then you'd get a phone call the next morning from a Shrita usually telling you what your vacation time was. And but there was kind of like an interesting sort of twist on that, in that if like I remember on one occasion I got like a month, and with a few other New Jersey disciples, because we had a problem with that car, but that was no excuse on Guru's part. And so we were given a month, but 2 weeks later Guru was given a concert in Philadelphia, and we got the message that if we all went to the concert in Philadelphia, then we were back. So we only got 2 weeks. And there was also a little twist in that often people thought if your birthday was getting very close, say maybe your birthday was in 2 days, Guru would his compassion would come to the fore, and after 2 days you were back. Your sentence, as it were, was executed, as you say.